Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining the CPD webinar today. The topic for today's webinar is Disbursements Demystified, and it's accredited for 1 hour CPD credits, professionalism CPD credits. I request you all to let me know on chat if there's any audio quality disturbance from my end. And to hear me better, please dial into the audio coordinates provided on the chat window. We will be taking questions end of the session. I have my teammate, Ms. Sharanya, here on the call as well, who can take some chat questions, but we request you all to post your questions and wait till a break time, or maybe end of the session we will answer all your questions. If anything further or in detail, any of you need any help with disbursements later on any specific file, you could reach out to our support team for help, and we'll be glad to assist you. Our support team email ID is support@uLawPractice.com. Alternatively, you can click on the help in your uLaw window and click on email uLaw support with your reason for question. Thank you. All right. I think we have enough people joining in already to start the call. I'm going to go ahead, start with Disbursements Demystified. One important topic that we all are always a little worried about, how to handle disbursements. And here's what I'm going to be walking you through in today's meeting. What are disbursements and how to manage them? In general, we all know disbursements are expenses made on behalf of the client, and how do we manage them in our books while invoicing them and recovering the expense from the client, or utilizing the money which is already in the trust account, or how do we manage disbursements from any other method of payment? Could be your general bank, could be your business credit card, could be owner's pocket when you use your own personal credit card, so on and so forth. There's no limit to what could be the type of bank or credit card, the method of payment that you would be using. So, but we are going to see what is more appropriate to use at such circumstances. As we have various area of practices, you know, there's real estate, there's wills and estate, family, small claims, etc. How do we utilize these points about billable actuals and general disbursements that are being incurred? How do we record them in the system, and how do we recover them from the clients? And last but not the least, what are the expectations of your law society for the province that you are in when it comes to disbursements? This is what we're going to be seeing in today's agenda. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible and as slow as possible as well, so that you all can capture and try to practice this at your end. I repeat, today's topic is Disbursements Demystified, and it's a 1 hour CPD webinar. And let's quickly jump in. So before we head into seeing more practical way of doing it, I'm definitely going to start off with a little bit of theoretical introduction about disbursements, talk about disbursements in the next few minutes, and then we will walk through an example at my end using my playground account. So what is a disbursement, and what does it mean to your business? When I mean my business, to your business and at your end. So disbursement is the act of paying out or dispersing money, such as money paid out to run a business, cash expenditures, dividend payments, or the amounts that a lawyer might have to pay out on a person's behalf in connection with a transaction. I know now it sounded really big, but in a layman's term, expenses incurred for your client by your law office on behalf of them, basically, right? So it could be like an example, let's say an application fee, filing application fee, or court fee, or even a simple courier fee. How do we record these? You don't want to put them under your legal fees, and it's going to be obviously affecting your revenue and etc. But how do we record them as a disbursement is what we're going to be seeing today. And in terms of accounting, you need to record it in books to balance the accounts when you spend it, invoice it, recover the expense. So basically, when you incur the expenditure, you follow the bank. You follow how was it paid. Okay, I incurred this courier fee today on behalf of my client. I sent him a package with the documents drafted. And how do I record this? The first question that needs to come in your mind is, how did you spend it? Did you spend it using trust account or general account? Or did you spend using your own pocket, like your owner's pocket, which is your own personal credit card? So most of the times people also use personal credit card or business credit card. So it totally depends on whichever you used. Follow your bank, and then you will be able to accordingly record that in uLaw, because you have several options under Add New Disbursement, which we're going to see in the upcoming slides. And as per Law Society audit terms, you need to maintain proper books. That's all they say. If you've used specific bank account, please record that method of payment and the option in order to show the right transactions being entered. Now, how to manage these disbursements, and what are the key points that you need to remember when you're incurring a disbursement? Most of the times we all feel that disbursement is an additional responsibility that you will have to show your client how it is being paid and what is the reason, what is the necessity, and the timing that it incurred or occurred, etc. There's quite a lot of it that plays a role here, but the main role is record the disbursement when it was paid. I wouldn't say wait until the weekend, until you enter all the accounts into the program, and then you can take it after it. I would say the first thing to do is, as soon as you incur it, you anyways have your uLaw account ready with you. Go into that specific. That is the most important step too. So always remember to enter that specific client's name and matter on the piece of paper. Literally, maybe you have a Canada Post bill with you, or you have a UPS store bill with you. Go ahead and just write down the client's name, or at least the matter title, something on that piece of paper you have with you after you walk out of that store, or after you finish the online payment and print out a receipt. It's very important for your bookkeeping records, yes, but as much as that is important to maintain a physical record of the invoices or the receipts, it is very important to maintain that in your uLaw account as well. So go to the client's name, go to that matter, and then whatever disbursement was incurred, please record it under Add New Disbursement. And here you will have to decide whether it was paid out of your trust or general or any other account. Once you determine that, you can click on the respective option that you have as a drop-down options available within the program under Add New Disbursement. And you can decide which portion goes towards the invoice and which is, sent to the client along with the legal fees, etc. And what is it that you actually incurred? Now, here is the most, I won't say confusing part, but this is to be done a little carefully. Trust is very straightforward. So we all know adding disbursement from trust is literally one step, one click process where you just click on Add New Disbursement, say paid from trust. You just enter in the check number, etc., the amount, the date, the description, what was the reason you paid it out for, and then go ahead, click, and then say print check and submit it. It's straightforward. So mostly if you see real estate lawyers and other lawyers or paralegals using trust to pay out the disbursements, find it in fact simpler because it's paid out directly for the actual amount that you have incurred. But when you're using general account, you could decide what portion you're going to invoice your client because you have two portions, something called the top portion and the bottom portion. So you could decide whether, okay, I'm going to charge my client for photocopies. So what is it that you're going to charge your client? Is it the actual amount you incurred? Then you have an option called actuals. You can go and click on that. So that won't give you a top and a bottom portion. It's just one portion. But when you want to, charge a different portion to your client, then go for the top and the bottom portion. That's there in the general Add New Disbursement to general cash other accounts. That's the option. I'm definitely going to walk you through that. So these are certain things that you really need to determine before you add. I don't know I'm stressing about these points for the last 5 minutes, but honestly, when you run across this point in your head, when a disbursement takes place, it doesn't take more than 20 seconds. But when that 20 seconds to 30 seconds is worth the time to not make any mistake after you invoice, after you raise an invoice rather. So determining these preliminary points are very important, I feel. So if paid from general account, decide what portion that you're going to invoice your client and pre-bill, always pre-bill. This is not just for disbursements, for any legal invoice, any docketing, any disbursement, anything that you do, when you're invoicing a client, please utilize the pre-bill feature. It's a very important point where you could avoid making mistakes. Confusions can be rectified at this point, and you could avoid any hassle about going back and forth, rectifying errors. That takes more time. But when you do a pre-bill, you can avoid such issues coming up. After you pre-bill, invoice the client, and then the best part comes up with recovering the expense from them. Because sometimes if you've not paid, obviously if you've not paid it from trust, then it's general. It could be your credit card, your debit card, whichever account that you use, but it's still either out of your firm's money or your personal money. And if you are going to be doing that, make sure you're going to recover. And how do you recover an expense? Obviously, once you pre-bill, you have to invoice your client, and when you invoice your client, send it out to them so that the client gets to see it. They see, okay, I am not only charged for the legal fees, but Mr. X or Miss Y, my lawyer, has also charged me, a lawyer or paralegal, any legal professional, right? So has also charged me for a disbursement. And what is this disbursement? So it is nicely shown on your second page of invoice, depending upon the format or the theme that you're choosing. Keep it very simple and utilize the theme formats that's available, convenient for you, and what your client likes and what you think is good, explanatory to them, right? And get it paid for the expense. Recovery part is most important. Now, how do you recover it? I will come to it. Some clients just replenish as a retainer, right? There could be some retainer already lying with you. You could move that money from trust to general, or some clients could replenish your retainer for the additional amount that you have spent, or some clients could just directly pay that money into general since you've already invoiced them. So there are 2-3 options that's available in terms of recovery. We will see that when we are doing an example. But again, you have to follow your bank there, okay? How your client is paying, and you will have to record that accordingly into your trust or general, or move the money from trust to general respectively. And that's about, recording and invoicing and recovery of the expenditure, which is most important. Now, how do you spend the money? Now, this is the most important part again. I know I'm going to say this important for every other line probably for this webinar, but honestly, this is really the preliminary steps are very important to note that, okay? Now, how do you spend the money and what should you record? So, why not pay straight from your trust? Why is there an option for general? So, you will have to identify some expenses are best to be made from trust, and some are best to be made from general or your credit card or owner's pocket. As you see, there are 2 divisions that I'm going to be talking about the next few minutes. And so the straightforward things, let's say court filing fee or application fee to any government, or let's say you're a real estate lawyer and you're trying to do any of these payments directly from trust to pay the other party's lawyer for a sales transaction, or for a purchase towards maybe paying the agent commission, etc. Anything that could be actual amount, or that is actually the actual amount. Okay, there's no difference, there's no profit margin there, nothing. Things like that is to be paid straight from the trust account. You don't have to recover, in a sense, you don't have to recover the expense. It could have been gone straight from the trust account. There's no need to recover the expense, as it is not your money that you have spent. It is the client's money that is already sitting in the trust account that is being utilized to make this disbursement. I'm sorry, my slides are moving away. Apologize for that. Okay, so now, it is not your money after all, so just show it as an expense from trust. At the end of the day, this will reduce the amount of bookkeeping required for sure. That's why I always say disbursements from trust is very, very simple. Now, coming to the second portion of it, paying disbursements from general, business credit card, owner's pocket, could be your own credit card, debit card, etc. Now, this is, I won't say tricky, but you have to spend maybe an additional 30 seconds. Whatever we discussed in the last slide also is applicable here. It's about using your own money or your firm's money to spend on behalf of your client. So record the expense information with date. The accuracy in terms of date, amount, and the method of payment, whether it includes taxes, excludes taxes, and recording it to the proper client and matter. All of these are the first 4 points, which is very important. Record if the disbursement was paid from the bank, credit card, again out of your own personal pocket, making sure that everything at your bank end is also being reported. So it is not only just reporting or recording rather to your client's invoice and showing your client that, hey, I paid $200 on your behalf. Here's the invoice, and the second page of invoice, if you look at it, has the disbursement portion. But if you go further down, it is also about recording and reporting the expense to reconcile, could be your own general account or your own business credit card, or to pay your own self later on using your personal money. Okay. Now, when to recover this disbursement? What's the most appropriate time? I would say as soon as possible. So if you're raising an invoice, make sure you include the disbursements that you've recently done. Okay, that could be option number one, where let's say you have a certain type of agreement with your client. When you're doing the retainer agreement, you also mention all these points about disbursements in there. And this specific agreement talks about raising an invoice with disbursements whenever incurred, or you could just, uLaw has an option where if you at that time don't have a legal fees to charge your client, no problem. You could just raise an invoice with just the disbursement. You can do partial billing. This is a very good point where I would like to tell you, don't wait until you have a legal fee to be, charged to the client. You could also do it as a partial billing. Send them an invoice as soon as you incur the expense. That way you don't, it doesn't take long time to recover the expense. Sometimes the matter could suddenly get settled, and then, your client, there are times when the client can refuse to pay you, but ultimately I would say make sure in your next invoice or in your before even raising an invoice, you have the expenses information recorded under disbursements, and then raise an invoice and send it to your client. Now get it paid from trust. This is a point I would say, there are two types where you could directly do a trust payout, or you could do a trust transfer, and you could get yourself paid via trust transfer, or ask the client to pay it into your general account. Now that is the way you get paid. And if it is paid by you from your personal money, you have one additional step to note down here is you will have to pay yourself. You will do a drawings transfer from your uLaw account and say that payment to myself for recovery of disbursement or reimbursement of disbursement paid for the specific client on the specific day. I know the description is going to be a one-line thing, but it's worth it, guys. Go ahead and enter as much as information possible. It could take you an additional 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, but we have the Bank Connect features now. Drawings can be very easily recorded. I will come to that part of it when we are doing an example. It will seem much better more than me explaining it right now. But remember, if you're using your personal money, not the firm's general account money or not the firm's credit card, you have one additional step to move that money from your general once the client paid you to pay yourself. Make sure you have all the ledgers and journals updated as per Law Society guidelines. Now, why are we taking all this time to record, these expenses or disbursements, made on behalf of the client? I think we all, it all boils down to a point where having those respective ledgers and journals, client's trust receipt journal, client's general disbursements, and then other fee book, etc., that Law Society requires you to maintain is very important. Make sure to download them on a monthly compliance basis. You have that available in our accounts tab. Under compliance tab, you would see all of those 7 documents, which is the client's trust, client's general, and then the 4 journals, and followed by fee book. So about 7 documents, which is very important for Law Society. Again, I'll be showing you that in the next 20 minutes. So the types of disbursements, and to see the next one, which ones are not trust. So we spoke about disbursements like court filing fee or court fee or any other process server fees, etc. But what are these disbursements which are not the trust type, but they are only general? right? There could be some unit rates and mileages, like, for example, you're doing a photocopy charge to your client. You cannot obviously do it from trust. It has to be done from general, because we at least recommend you to do it from general, because sometimes there could be a profit margin there. You could have used your own printer and you could be recovering the expense. There's no recovery of expense, but you could be charging the client for that specific amount, which can go only from general and not trust. So trust is always actuals. Remember that. And or you for some conveyance, or for some conveyance, maybe travel time or mileage, gas, etc. So these are more general, and they could be profit motive here. So these go out of general account. Any recovery of expense on actual, you could choose to do it from both trust or general. There's nothing that says it should not be out of trust or general. It could be from both, whichever works best and convenient for you, which we have already discussed earlier about doing it from trust and doing it from general. Now, this also includes outsourced consultancies. Now, paying a third party, if it's paid from trust, you could just do a payout from trust. But if it's from general, we have a separate option that gives you payment to third party, and which could be done from general. And with the profit margin, I would say use only the general again. So now you have an idea which goes from trust, which goes from general. Make the preliminary point here to again understand is only actuals goes out of trust, and if there's a slightest chance for profit margin, please make it out of your general account only. Now, what are the most important ledgers that you need to report for disbursements as per Law Society requirements, and how do you maintain them? Now, during audits, the disbursement ledgers, both trust and general, are reviewed, okay? And it's available under the complaints tab. Once again, the complaints tab is under accounts, where you get to see, and of course your client gets to see. You can also share the client's trust and general ledger with your client, as well as when the auditor needs it, where what happened in your trust is very clearly recorded here. Receipts into general, receipts into trust, and disbursements into disbursements out of trust, and that's seen in your trust ledger here. Where whereas in general, if you have raised an invoice and if you have accepted any payment for the disbursements, is seen on the right-hand side here at the bottom. Now, every transaction disbursed directly needs to be recorded in disbursement ledgers. You have trust and general disbursement ledgers available. Based on the type of transaction, it is maintained under the respective ledgers. Each ledger has a running balance with the date, as you see here in the examples at the bottom. The following samples are actually by Law Society demonstrated for a trust and a general ledger. So it's completely what you also see on your account in your screen when you raise these documents. Now, very recently, uLaw also added something called Client's Trust plus General Ledger, which I will show you when we go through an example, where within a matter, you can download Client's Trust plus General, and it shows very clearly what was the money that came. It's just one single document, and you can see both of it inside the same document. And proceeding with disbursement journals, what does it take to maintain them? During audits, the disbursement journals are reviewed and it's very similar to what we saw on the ledger screen prior. Journals are recorded for every single type of activity, and disbursement journals are maintained for both trust and general. So accordingly, record it, and I mean, we've already discussed about recording it. Whatever you've recorded is rather what is going to be seen under the respective journals and ledgers. The following you see here at the bottom are the samples from the Law Society that demonstrates both trust and general disbursement journals. So far we've seen 5 documents that already shows specific to disbursements, that are rather specific to disbursements, and there's one other that shows disbursements is part of fee book. So the fee book is very simple document, but even though it's part of Law Society compliance, again, very important to note down, the fee book records all the fees and disbursements raised in an invoice that need to be recovered from the client. End of the day, there are only 2 things that you can recover from the client. One is either your legal fees, either the billable time or flat rate that you're going to be charging them, and the other is the disbursements that you've spent on behalf of them. The following sample you see here on this page is how the fee book looks. I really like this document because it has really nice columns that uLaw has introduced, very important columns in terms of the invoice numbers, the client names, fees that is being charged, for your services rendered, and the disbursements that's being charged for on behalf of your client, which will be recovered from there. And also HST is being there. That is a boon, I feel, because you could compare that with your HST payable easily. These are some small points and tips that I feel will help you better with recording the disbursements and will make your bookkeeping a much better thing. It could look much nicer end of the day and cleaner too. That's all we all want, right? When your bookkeeping is clean, your reconciliation becomes less than few minutes, and then your other complaints for Law Society flows in very easily. So the inputs is all required from your end. Now, benefits of a legal accounting software, like using a program like uLaw, what is it that helps you in terms of disbursements, recording events when and as they happen? Like I already mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, have your uLaw account open when you know today you're going to be making a disbursement for this client, or when you're even working on that file, have uLaw open on another window. It's pretty simple, right? And record the financial transactions, bank transactions as close as possible to make reconciliation task very simple. This is exactly what I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. You maintain none of the above documents. Let the software do the work based on the workflow. So once your input is in, you will see that the output that you get in terms of the documents or in terms of reconciling, in terms of giving invoices to your clients, everything is smooth. And even in fact, in terms of accepting the payments, once you raise the invoices, the question mark on the center of the matter screen tells you everything. It tells you, hey, you had this much money in your account. This is what you've raised as an invoice. This is all now you have for yourself. Go transfer it. Enjoy the money. So that's the kind of workflow we all want to be in, right? End of the day, the bookkeeping should look simple for you. At the same time, the records are also maintained as per the requirements. Finally, it's all about compliance, accountability, analytics, and ease of use. So try to make this 40 minutes that I have tried my best to walk you through in terms of introducing you into the disbursements. I hope I've demystified it. But I'm going to walk you through an example at our end. But before that, I just want to take a quick 1-minute break, ask you all if you have any questions, and let me know on the chat window if there's anything that we could help you with. please email us on support@uLawPractice.com. We will certainly try to respond to you within 24 hours. If it's anything that's urgent, I request you to put a subject saying urgent. Now, I'm on this page where 30-day trial can be signed up. Please, if you have friends, refer a friend. You can also go into the program. My colleague has shared refer a friend in her chat window. You can use the link, share it, probably share it with your friend or send it across, and we will be happy to have more people joining us. Okay, so I'm going to now skip this part and go into our uLaw account. Okay, we'll need a minute. Give me one moment to share the screen. I probably have a wrong screen here. Apologize. Okay. That's fine. Okay, here we are. Right, so this is my dashboard. You log into your uLaw account. This is how it will look. Mine is a little clumsier because I have quite a few people using this playground account, but I'm sure yours is going to be really organized. So let's quickly go into adding a new client and see how this works. Let's say I'm going to add somebody called John Matthew. I'm going to skip most of these details. Let's say I want to give source of contact through an existing client, and let's give the street name 82 Potter Lane. Let's say Toronto, Ontario. Okay, we have almost whatever we need. Let's go to Save and Matter. I'm going to open this matter. Let's say I'm going to utilize wills and estate as an example. Please choose the appropriate area of practice if you are practicing a few areas. So that will be helpful for you to see what is the revenue generated from each of these areas of practice by end of the year by going into analytics or pulling out a revenue generated report. Now, if there's no code file number, matter description, you can skip everything. Rate per hour is here. It's all coming in from the settings. If you're doing flat rate, choose to ignore it or choose to get rid of it and save the matter. Now, I'm sure you all know the basics. If you need help, please reach out to support. Always, we are happy to help. Now, here's the disbursements and retainer tab. Now, we're going to see both trust and general aspect of it. So let's get a small amount of retainer from the client. For today's date, maybe the client paid me $1,000 with check or email transfer, whatever method of payment. The moment you click retainer, it automatically pulled up the pool trust account tab. There's no way you're getting a retainer into general account. If you're getting money into general, it's always going to be client payment for the money that the client owes you. Now, give them a nice receipt for the retainer they have given you. You could download that and review it later. Of course, send it to them. Now, let's say you're going to add a new disbursement, straightforward one, simpler one, paying it out of the trust. Let's assume there was a $200 filing fee and was a check, the check number, maybe the first check out of your account. The description could be, let's say, court fee. Okay? And then paid to, let's say, ministry, something to do with court filing fee or some other actuals that you're trying to pay. download the check, and make the payment. Now I'm just going to close this. Let's assume the first disbursement is out of your trust. Now you see, keep seeing the projected balance here on the top. If you are still at doubt, go to your trust tab and keep reviewing these always. So most of the time I find people making mistake is when they don't know what is gone out of trust so far and assuming that this is what I have as a balance, right? Never make that mistake. It's just a humble request. Please try to utilize these trust and general tabs respectively to go in and find out what is the current status before you make another move. Okay, if you're not too sure, I will say this is recommended. Now, the next disbursement, if you see under add new disbursement, the next option rather that's available is disbursements from general, cash, other accounts. Now, if you see for trust, there's only one, paid from trust. But when you're withdrawing from general, cash, or any other account, there's quite a few options that you see here. I know it is going to be a little confusing, so let me clear it off before I go ahead. Paid disbursements from general, cash, other accounts has top portion and bottom portion. This is exactly what I was saying when you want to charge a client for a photocopy charges. Let's assume this one was going to be a pure profit for you. You're only going to charge your client because you used your own office printer to make the copies. So, but you might ask me, guys, what about the photocopy, the paper or the ink or even my printer? Do I not need to record them under an expenses? No, that is your office expense. That portion is on office expense. Don't confuse that part, okay? So when you are not incurring any expense to get this photocopy done, it means your report expense portion is zero, okay? So that is when I would say utilize this portion of paid disbursements from general, cash, other accounts, and the top portion to be filled out and the bottom portion to be left blank. So this is the purpose of having the two portions, and the top it goes to the invoice as a disbursement. The bottom goes to reporting expense in your general account or in your credit card or in your cash or any vendor for payment. Come down. Let's say there was no method of payment because nothing was incurred. Just ignore that bottom portion completely. Go and save it. Now, this is done. Then let's see another one under general. Paying disbursements from general, again, very similar, but there's a huge difference. This is actual. This is when, you're using an actual amount. Make sure there's no top and bottom portion, right? So this is very similar to trust, but this is being paid from general. I don't want to confuse too much. So again, going back in here, if it's paid from trust, trade option, paid from general, there are a few options, but if you are not covering anything from your client, if you're not paid anything, leave the bottom portion blank, fill in only the top portion. And the third one we are seeing right now is paying the actuals from your general. So there could be something to do with your courier costs. Okay, that is an actual amount that obviously you're not going to do from your trust. It's recommended to do from general. And let's assume you paid $50 plus taxes, and out of your general or your business credit card, or it could be out of owner's pocket, you used your own credit card, personal credit card. And I'm going to just keep it simple, say that I used my business credit card and I paid this to Canada Post. So as much as information possible is good. Method of payment was credit card. If you have a reference number, nice to have it here, go and save it. So this is also an expense made from general account, but there's no top and bottom portion here because this is actual of what you have spent. You're recovering from your client. No profit motive here. Now, that's another example we saw And this miscellaneous expense from general is also very similar to, doing an expense from general cash other accounts. And when you are paying a third party, I would say just go ahead and use this consultancy expense. Let's say you're paying probably a transcriptionist for anything to translate, etc. And you're paid this. You're charging your client for $130 plus taxes, but maybe you've incurred only $100 plus taxes. So the top portion and the bottom portion is here, and you're directly paying this is the amount you've paid to the consultancy for this third-party consultancy, and could be ABC firm or something paid to, and you could say it was an email transfer, and then enter the reference number for whatever email transfer that you did for this particular translator. Save it. Now you get to see that it gets added on top of the disbursements you see here on the right side in the projected balance. Now you're left with one other disbursement, which is if you have made any prepaid, like a deposit to any specific vendor or company, you get to enter the date on which you are incurring this expenses. So let's say today I'm making a TerraView search and a land title search, let's put it rather that way. This is helpful for a lot of real estate lawyers. Let's say the land title search fee was $65 plus taxes. And again, you have, this is going to be actuals, right? But this is not going out of your bank account straight. It is from your prepaid account, right? So under deposits and prepaid, you have an option to go select the prepaid account, and then you get to save it. So this option is helpful when you do a prepaid prepayment to disbursement, which means you have an amount or a deposit prepaid earlier to that firm or vendor or individual, and then you are expending from the deposit you have made the payment. And then lastly, raise an invoice. We don't allow you to complete it. Always review and then go ahead completing the invoice. Okay, so I've done a partial invoice. If you see, there's no legal fees. I have done only a disbursement here. All the disbursement shows up here. The retainer that I've received so far and the trust payout is here. And the following in terms of total billable is over here with the retainer. Trust account is here. Now you go back in invoice. Now if you click on complete, you will see invoice. So when I meant about the partial invoicing, you don't really have to wait until you have any dockets to invoice your client. Go ahead and do only disbursements. No worries. You only have disbursements at this moment to recover from the client. So why not have it done immediately or wait till the next invoice? The choice is, the discretion is at your end. You get to choose however you have a rapport with your client and what is convenient for you, depending upon whether you're at early stages of practicing or if you're already into it. It's your own choice, but I leave it to you. The highly recommended one is immediately invoice, otherwise at least in your next invoice. Okay, now, so I had $1,000 in my trust, okay, even though it says $800 here now. I received $1,000 in my trust. I have so far disbursed $200 out of it already for a direct court filing. So now I have $800 in my trust. I just raised an invoice, click on the question mark in center of the page, and now you're left with the deposit in trust. So far you've withdrawn from trust directly for a disbursement. What is your balance amount here? So 1,000 minus 200, 800, and the invoice that you just raised for is a total disbursement of $305.10. Go back into your question mark. You are now invoicing for this 305.10, and you can very well transfer this money from trust to general because the client has already paid you a retainer. Send the invoice to them, let them approve it, then go ahead and transfer the eligible funds from trust to general, again by clicking on question mark. Always do this before you do it at the bank. Make sure you click on question mark, go through these details, ensure it's exactly that amount you're going to transfer in the bank. Then open another tab in your bank or write a check from trust to general, whatever, but it should match with the amount that you're eligible to transfer. Select the disbursements that you're going to be transferring. Since this is all disbursements, I'm clicking on top, ensuring the date, and then the amount is all fine. Even though your trust has 800, since you've only invoiced for 305.10, it's allowing you to transfer only that much amount. Transfer electronically, give the reference number. Once you finish the transfer, you could download the Form 9A. The Form 9A very clearly shows you that this is for the disbursements, translator invoice, courier cost, photocopy. This 305 is transferred from trust to general using electronic fund transfer. Sign it, put it in your file. Now, the most important part that we are at is compliance for Law Society. Why did we have to do all of this, recording the amounts and classifying it under the respective trust or general, transferring, making all of this, recording this is end of the day or month, of course. Go into your compliance, download your client's trust ledger or general ledger, client's trust receipts, and all the general disbursements. You see there are the 5 plus 1, 6 plus 1 here, fee books, 7 documents that I was talking about while we were doing the theory part, is the presentation part rather, is here. I would like to show you one important is the general disbursement journal. Always choose the period for which you're doing. Since this is a monthly, I'd like to click on the monthly option, choose the date for April, download this, and this shows you very clearly what has been the general disbursement wherever I have used. Now let's go to the bottom. I think I selected April, so let me go back to show you what we just recorded on today's date. General disbursement, we did make some disbursements as on today, right? So let's leave the date range as it is, 6th of May, so it's going to show whatever we just recorded. I would like to show you how the recently recorded transactions is showing up today. So wherever I used general, the Canada Post, using the credit card, business credit card, the $50 plus taxes is over here. This is exactly what I wanted to show you. It's very helpful. It shows you all the disbursements. The disbursement journal is here for the entire period that you want to show, with the date, the method of payment, who did you pay to. That is why I'm saying when you record the information, try to record as much as possible with the paid to, with who have you paid it to, the method of payment, give the description, and then the rest of, where you just enter the total, and then it shows up the breakup very nicely with the HST, without the HST, whenever it's tax exempt, etc. I think I almost left out with last 5 minutes here. I would like to see if you all have any questions as we've fairly come to end of it. Please let me know if there's anything that I can help you all with. I'll be happy to answer for the next 5 minutes. Or if you have any specific questions that you think might take longer time, please email us on support@uLawPractice.com. We've just put it again on the chat here. And lastly, I'd like to say, I'm sure a lot of you here have been with us for a while. some are going to be joining us soon, probably prospective. I would be happy if you all could go to our link that's provided here on Gartner or Capterra, where you could be giving us reviews. It'll be really helpful for us as a big community that we're all growing into. It'll be nice to have more reviews from a lot of you. Gartner is giving a $5 USD, for every review that you're giving us. It'll be a big, it'll be a big change to see many of you commenting nice things about us. In fact, I would not be ashamed to ask for a 5-star review. So please feel free to use the link that my colleague, Ms. Sharanya, has put on the chat here. The chat window is there right beside the speaker option. I hope you all can see the chat that we've provided. Please go ahead, click on the link, write some good things about us, give us a nice 5-star review. I will make sure the next time you reach support, I will take the best care of you. Okay, so any questions? Next 3 minutes we can chat. I hope I got the disbursements demystified really for all of you. We have more topics, more interesting topics to be added soon. We have more upcoming webinars. Please go on our website, register for the webinar, ask your friends to register for the webinar. The webinars are free. They're 1-hour CPD at least every 3 weeks once. Sometimes, some months we have 2 webinars that are CPD accredited, 1-hour professionalism like today's. I'd like to probably put the topic out here once again. Disbursements Demystified is the topic for today. You could claim your 1-hour CPD credits, 1-hour professionalism CPD credits, and do come back every Friday, 2 to 3 p.m. We'll be happy to, transfer knowledge, enlighten you with a little bit that we know. It'll be helpful for you to play around the software. You need not always wait till you reach out support. These webinars are conducted basically because we can give you a larger perspective of how to utilize the program in a very efficient manner. Topics are very helpful for your daily use. Kindly try to make a little bit of time, that 2 to 3 p.m. every Friday if possible. Sometimes if you are committed to other work, our YouTube channel has all the recordings of these webinars. We post it every Monday or over the weekend, so at least wait till a couple of days and you would be able to see the recording on the YouTube channel. Thank you all once again for joining. If you don't have any questions, I would like to end the session here by saying a big thank you. It was my first CPD webinar today. I know you've all been used to listening to my other colleague, but I'm glad to be here sharing my screen with you all, sharing my views with you all, letting you all know that we are available for support anytime. Try to send us emails. Try to give us good reviews. I will try to be present for every webinar possible. Encourage us, help us help you, and we'll be happy to talk to you again in the next webinar. Until next week, take care. We will come up with more new topics, and if you have any suggestions, you're welcome. You're welcome to give us suggestions. You could email us. I think everyone here knows me. My name is Gayatri. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Gayatri. I belong to uLaw Client Success Team. Many of you have probably sat with me on a demo or on a support call. I'm happy to be here today doing this webinar for all of you. Please email us for further queries. Thank you.